that's why we do the storytelling with the kids and many things you asked me before.
Sure.
Because it's a way of engaging the people in a place that is built to sell comics and books, but you can turn it into something funny, something amusing, something interesting to visit, and even you don't have to buy anything, and you have a good time. So I think that's a very very good strategy.
Hi, this is Comic Industry Insiders. My name is Adam Freeman, and this week we are joined by Jesús Marugán, one of the driving forces behind Akira Comics in Madrid. If you don't know already, Akira isn't just a comic shop. It's a cultural landmark that has twice, not once, twice won the prestigious Eisner Spirit of Comics Retailer Award, making it the only store in the world in the history of that award with that distinction. Akira Comics is without a doubt the result of a lifetime devotion to comics and the impact it can have on a community and on the lives of its owners and their families. I am thrilled. I say that a lot, but I am thrilled for the opportunity to interview Jesús, who has rightfully earned his place in the Hall of Fame of comics retailers. And legitimately, go look at the videos and make sure that, if you don't speak Spanish, go look at the videos now before the interview so that you know exactly who I'm talking to. Because what I'm saying is that if you don't speak Spanish, make sure you use the closed captioning and English, because they do some incredible work there. All right, if you're coming back, let's get into it. Our guest this week, Jesús Marugán. Jesús, thank you for joining us. This is such an honor. I've been such a fan of your shop from what I've seen. I've never been to Madrid, but I'm looking forward to going. I wanted to begin this interview just by asking about a really important member of your team. Who's Ibi?
Well, thank you for the invitation. First of all, I'm very honored being here. So, I guess you are asking about the puppet or the human being, because Evie is from I mean is the characterization of my brother Ivan. We call it Evie, and he was transformed to a puppet in a time, and he started to appear in our YouTube channel, and eventually is the host of our video submissions to the Eisner Awards.
Yes, and he does an amazing job. The puppet. I don't know your brother, but the puppet does a wonderful job as the host of those videos.
Well, it's more or less like him, more or less.
More or less.
His plus counterpart.
Where did that love of puppetry come from? Because I see so much of your videos you have, like you do puppet shows for kids in your store and that sort of thing. Is that deeply ingrained in the family? Is that come from Evie, the brother?
Yeah, we are huge lovers of puppets and all of that, because from a very very early in our lives, first myself, because I'm older than 3 years older than my brother Ivan. I fell in love of Jim Henson and Sesame Street in Spain, that is called Barrio Sésamo, the translation, in the early 80s and late 70s. And also all the rest of the shows of Jim Henson. I'm still very in love of Jim Henson philosophy works, all of his company, of his all of what he thought about teaching kids through the puppets. So when we started the Storytellers project back in 2011, we decided that we have to integrate the puppets anyway in the future. So, for instance, when we decided to do a year about Star Wars in our storytellers, was in 2015 because of the episode 7 premiere. We designed the original trilogy version in puppets, and I think maybe in that time I eventually learned about Whatnot was the Jim Henson puppets. They sell you in New York. What was the name of the store? It was a department store of toys in New York.
Oh, FAO Schwartz. You're
Yeah,
referring to
the
FAO
FAO
Schwartz?
shorts.
Yeah, where they would
That's
do
right.
your puppet. Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
they have there a small part that was the Whatnot something was the name, and there you design your puppets. So we designed for us one of my brother and one of me. The point here is that my own puppet has not been released in any video, but it's in our store in the museum in the part of the museum of the store. Anyone can see it since then. But my brother decided that it will be his counterpart Evie, the one who would be the main character of the videos back in
Right.
2015 or 2016 or whatever.
That's wonderful. What I loved about that is so many retailers, so many people, really, myself included, we struggle with the idea of creating internet content, which is really necessary in today's marketing. And what you've done by, having this puppet is you have you have a cast member who you is not an embarrassment. Like you don't watch yourself or have to listen to your own voice because it's that puppet. I think that's a wonderful solution that you guys have landed on. And that I wonder how many others, including myself, I'm thinking, do I need an atom puppet? Maybe I do. I don't. Maybe I haven't thought that through yet. But well, so let's talk about what. Let's begin with what is Akira. And when you meet somebody at a party and they ask you what you do for a living, how do you describe it?
Well, when I try to describe our store to anyone not very related to the comic book industry or the fantasy genre, I say that I'm a comic book retailer, but we not only sell comics or fantasy books, but we try to expand the joy for the fantasy and the comic world and universe, let's say, doing things that goes beyond the just selling the products, and that's all the everything we do in the store that is not just selling the products. um, that's the part we are every time trying to expand. We put a lot of effort because I think the image we portray or we show to the others in the society, in the world we are living in these times, I think this is important because many people, especially in Spain, believes that the comic is something for kids because of our past in the dictatorship of Franco. Because there, the comics was relegated to the smaller part of the society, and that created some perception of the society that is something very of a small group of enthusiasts and mainly for kids. And that's something we try to work hard in these 32 years we are in the business, not only as retailers but also as fans, because the main point of this is that we live in the 80s as fans of comics in a society that was not as good seen as today. And we try to change that. For instance, going to any interview with a mass media, we ask us about anything. For instance, in this month, regarding the second Eisner Award, they asked me, "Would you want to be interviewed like you, or to talk about your store, or what you think about the comic industry or whatever?" Yes, I always answer yes. I'm the public image of face of the store, because I think that is always very, very necessary to make the people learn, the people not related to this hobby, that is a very, very fascinating hobby compared with the movies, the music, the literature, every other artist expressions of the society, and that's our mainly efforts, beyond selling and living of our store, of course.
What do you think is the distinguishing characteristic of comics in comparison to those other media you just described? In comparison to movies and TV, um, what does comics have that makes it special?
I think that they are more close to the books than to the movies and the music, because it's an active cultural thing. You have to read it, you have to understand it, you have to follow an story. So it's not just as passive of listening some music, or sitting in a chair watching some story in a screen. That's one thing. Maybe is something that it's difficult for a wider part of the society, because the human being prefers, on a whole, to receive information as a passive subject than an active subject. I suppose because it's easier for the own of human being. But the other important point about the comic book, is that you can tell things in a way that you can't in another media. For instance, the movies. You can use the way the panels are set in a page. The panels, the captions, the splash pages, whatever. You can follow a story in a very interesting way that you can't do it in a movie. For example, Frank Miller taught us in the 80s how much you can pull that thread and tell interesting stories, just using the timing of the panels in a page of a comic. And I think that's fascinating, because when you are smart enough, like, I don't know, writers like Alan Moore, Frank Miller, or today Tom King, people like that, you can show somebody, a reader, a story in an amazing way, very, very complicated to translate to another media. That's the problem of the movies about comics,
Right.
or about books. And I always, when I ask from Spanish journalist about what is the most important thing about the comic books compared with the paintings and the books, the other arts that it comes from. And I say, well, the magic of that is a comic book is the son of two different parents, that are the paint and the writing, the books. And that's magic, because it's like the evolution of the species. You have a son that has a mix of genes so interesting, that is a stronger son, and that's why the comic book industry here in Spain, in Europe, in the States, Japan, survives all the time, the passing of time, and the evolution of the society and the technification of the society, compared with the crisis of the books. We have the electronic books, or even the art, the paintings, and that's for me, like a fan, it's marvelous. It's amazing.
It truly is. I'm so glad I asked that question because it's such a wonderful answer. I do love that comics is the child of books and paintings. That's anyway. I'm gonna digest that for a while.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So, uh, as I was researching Akira, it seems that from the outside to be a family business. It looks as though, I mean, several of you have the same last name, the owners of the shop, and there's a story about you convincing your parents to invest in this. In fact, I understand you used some sort of Vulcan logic on your parents in order to get them to agree to fund this idea of yours back then. You said 32 years ago, is that right? Did I get that right? Yeah. Tell me about how that came about, and why do you think this has lasted so long?
Well, in fact, our birthday is next week. Is 9/11. Yeah, it's unbelievable for an American, but it's the 9/11 is our birthday. Yeah, it's
Well,
true. There was one day in our lifespan of a store that that birthday was, for some reason, was not a good. It was not a good birthday in some time of these 32 years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, but that was unexpected because we wanted to open the 1st of September to start with the after the summer. But what you do not know in the States is that Spain stops almost completely in August. So if you want to begin a business, putting it together, all the pieces in summer, it's impossible. You have to stop and you have to wait till the 1st of September, when everybody begins again to work. So we have to delay it to the first available day, that was 9/11.
Oh my gosh. That is, can I say, as an American who works with Europeans on a regular basis, mostly Italians like these days, the idea that the whole country seems to shut down in August,
Yeah,
like
it's
this is nothing happens.
it's like Spain. You have to understand that the Italians and Spaniards, we are like cousins, because we are the closest country to Italy. And we are the closest country to Italy during the Roman Empire. So we share a very, very close culture, and we can understand the Italian very easily compared with other languages. So I understand that logic, because if we stop in August, they stop in August also.
As an American, it gives me it makes me so nervous, the idea of people telling me to take a month off. I don't know how to process that. But you were talking about the history of your company and your family involvement. Yeah,
that's right. My parents wanted to open to do some business, because my father was working on Unisys, that it's the nowadays company that was called Sperry Univac, one of the top computer companies with IBM in the 60s and the 70s. He was there 24 years. The first thing I read from a very, very beginning was computer programs and computer language, like COBOL or Fortran, because of having a father very in touch of the computers in these days. I wanted to be in the IT industry in some time of my teenage times. And well, my father lived that work because he foresee the crisis of the technological mainframe companies in the 90s. So he tell his family, my brother, my mother, and myself, we have to do something related with the family, some kind of shop or restaurant or whatever, some kind of business. You have any ideas? Their ideas, my father's and my mother's ideas, were some very normal ideas, like a restaurant or something like that. But my brother Ivan and me, we were very nerdy in these days, so nerdy back then, with role playing, comics, books, everything. We still love everything related with this universe of fantasy and whatever. So we thought it was very logical to open a comic book store, because we are in a neighborhood here in El Barrio del Pilar. It's in the northern of Madrid, and our city, all the stores, all the comic book stores are in the center of the city since the 80s, and even nowadays. I mean, we are the weirdest of them, because we are the only one comic book store that tries to open it in the outskirts of the city. So it's our neighborhood is very crowded, and it has a good income level. I mean, that's the point that my father analyzed. He's very, very Vulcanian in his way of thinking.
Oh, right. Yes.
He's that you nailed it. He's very Vulcanian. I mean, that's why he loved to work with computers, and he uses the Boolean logic anytime, and the logical process and all of that. And everything we do with him since then, and even in that time, is processed in his mind with the most logical possible. It has to be very logical, everything, and he teaches us to be like that. I mean, to have your brain has to be logical enough to analyze everything that has surrounded you and in your life, personal or professional life, like a father teaching. I mean, because my mother is more passionate. They are a very funny couple in that part, because we are quite different in that approach of the life. So their children, my brother and me, we are. It's like what I said about the comics and the books and the paintings. We are the children of a very odd couple, but I think it was interesting because we deal with some many times we have to deal with passionate things. That is all of this. We are in love, comics and whatever.
Obviously, Akira, the shop that we see comes from a place of passion.
Yeah,
but obviously you cannot. I think one of the things, as I looked at it, the sort of contradiction that is that is under the layer of your business is this this place that comes from passion and creativity, but is built to such a level that there really must be a strong analytical support system underneath. That those two things almost feel like they contradict each other as an entity, which is I found to be fascinating. And hearing that your parents, who are the basis of this family business, are that dichotomy, does not surprise me.
Yeah, it's a balance. We have to balance that two parts of our lives. And yes, you nail it. We analyze and we study every single inch of whatever we do in the store, related to the business part, and also with the neighborhood activities, the decoration part, or whatever. I think that's the let's say, the trademark of our family. And I can say that maybe we are very weird in that way of thinking, because it's not very usual, at least in my country. And of course, in our industry here in Spain, we are very, very, very different of the rest of the industry, and we are proud of it, of course. But we are
Sure.
treated like that. They always tell us, I mean, distributors, editors, other retailers, they say you are quite different at what you expect in a comic book retailer, and we said, yeah, sure.
Well, you have an entire system, entire family who is contributing to that. Has that, are they, it is obviously a family owned business, and you've talked about your brother being a part of it. Is it a family run business? Is this, I mean, is this something where you talk about being the face of this partnership? But what is on day to day? How many of your family are involved and employed in keeping Akira running?
Well, it's still today is a family-owned business. Many times in these 22 years, comes to us to ask venture capital to
Mm,
enter in the store, in the business, and we always say the same: no, because many reasons. One of them is, to make the long story short, is that we will lose our independence and our spirit, how we conceive the store. That's the long story short.
sure.
And if we pull the thread a little further, we can say that our we live in a society, a capitalistic society, okay, in a
Sure.
world that is ruled by this kind of business, or this kind of working, but we change it in something more comfortable for us, and that means that the way we perceive and treat a business is more like a family owned than something big and something with investors, and something that you only have employees and the bosses and etc. Even we try with our staff that we being something like a family in many ways, and
Right.
treat them like, okay, they are our staff, we have to pay them, but for us they are like close relatives, more rather just employees. And that's the way I said earlier, and pulling the thread a little further, that's more about what we think about the society in which we were born, and we have to live, and we have to thrive, as is the times we have
Sure.
to live.
Thank you for that, and it also gives us I think, a good transition into another section of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Let's start with 2012. You won your first Eisner Award, which you shared with the Dragon in Guelph, Ontario. Jen Jen Haynes, who is the owner of that company, was one of our earliest interviews on this podcast, and a good friend. And so it was nice to see you in that company. But in the acceptance speech, you were not able to be there that year, 2012. You wrote an acceptance speech for Joe Ferrara, who runs the Eisner Spirit of Retail Award, to read, and you spoke of the comic shop as a place of solace in political turmoil. Uh, as you know, as an American right now who is living in legitimate political turmoil, can you talk more about the comic shop's role in society in that way, like as that escape, as that solace?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm so glad of meeting Jen in 2013. We shared being the judges of the next
Oh,
Eisner
right.
Retailer Award. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I meet her, I think she's one of the most amazing persons in this industry. It's incredible.
Very
And
true.
that's a story very moving for me. What I'm going to tell you, that little story that this July, when Joe Ferrara was going to announce the winner,
Mm-hmm.
she came to our table because she was in another table far from us. She came here to be with us in that moment.
Oh.
Silently, she came and she was next to me.
Oh.
And when Joe announced my store, apart from being petrified, I couldn't realize that I had won the Eisner for a second time.
Uh-huh.
She was the first person of the table that touches my neck, my shoulder, and said, I can remember because I was in shock, but what I remember perfectly was that I stand up, and she was the first one of hugging me, and she was in tears. She was crying.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I couldn't realize of that moving gesture of Jen, because I was in shock. But later, in the last month, in August, I found myself crying. Remember that moment.
Oh.
I mean, when the shock pass away and you start to analyze what happened, I became very emotional, remembering how nice and how moving was that Jen was there and was hugging me and saying me congratulations in tears. I can't say anything, say good things of her, because she's a
She's
great
remarkable.
person as a person and as a retailer, and many things of my job since 2012. In these years, I've learned from Jen. In fact, the one that is your question is that she told me about the third space theory. That is that we have a first space, that is your home, your safest place. You have your second place, that is your workplace, where you go to earn your living. And you have your third place, that is a place not related with your home and your work, but it's a place that it's appealing for you, and you can feel safe and comfortable there. And many times in Comics Pro meetings, that name it appears, it's mentioned.
Right.
I mean, it's very popular in the Comics Pro Association, and we try to integrate in the Akira Comics philosophy in these later years, and that's because Jen Haynes. So we, answering your question, yes, we think that any retailer, not just us, but I mean anyone, anywhere in the world, tries to turn their comic book store in the third place. Anybody, everybody in their own way, in their own philosophy. I mean. But they try to turn it like a sacred place, like in the Highlanders when they go to the church and they say that's sacred ground. We can't fight here.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a quote very used inside a comic book store, at least in Spain, because the fans says that they say that a comic book store is like a church in the Highlanders movie. It's sacred ground. Yeah.
Sacred
So
ground.
that's
Yeah.
the third place theory, and
Yeah.
um, and in our first Eisner, because every country has their problems. I mean, related with the politicians. But in the long term of Spain, sadly, we have a very a lot of years, because it's not related with a single or one government. is related to of your society. So we are in maybe in 20 years in a row that you need a comic book store if you are a comic book fan or fantasy fan to feel safe, to feel comfortable. You need it. So we turn it into Akira Comics, into some place that whenever will be the government, the society, the times we are living with crisis, no crisis. We are in a crisis in my country from time to time.
Yeah,
That's the difference with the States. We are used to that, but it's not funny. So we decided back in 1993, we opened with a very hard crisis in Spain in that time. The point is that we repeat the crisis from time to time. And we try to tell our customers, okay, no matter what is going to happen in our country, maybe bad news, you always have somewhere to feel safe and to feel relaxed with the thing you love. That is comics, manga, science fiction, whatever.
I also noticed in the tour that I think it was in the Eisner video tour that as you enter the space, there is a mission statement. I don't speak Spanish, so I couldn't read it, and I wasn't able to get it translated. But it did remind me of you were the 2025 winner recipient. I've been told not to call it a winner. As someone who is a recipient, 2008, hello. The I've always have felt a kinship to the stores that are recipients of it. And so I always notice these kinds of things. You had this mission statement up above, 2025, 2024, Blackbird Comics and Coffee and whatever they call themselves. Also, as you walk in, has this really beautiful mission statement that says something very similar. I love that there does seem to be this theme of stores that see themselves as that third place and like is a place of safety. It's a place of belonging. It's a place of refuge. And I think it's, thank you, I guess, is really where that little TED talk is ending, is to say, I just love that you and places like Blackbird and places like the Dragon are still there as a refuge for all of us. I think that is the sacred space. Yeah.
The Eisner Spirit of Comics Award, I perceive it, and well, that was what told me in the time the organization told me that in the beginning Will Eisner wanted that award precisely to improve the stores in that way. So I think that's the point of the award, that the stores tries to change, at least in becoming a safety place whenever they are.
Yeah. I know I mentioned that this year at the presentation. I found that in my years of watching the presentation videos and seeing stores evolve, I truly believe that many of us changed our stores to be that ideal because of the award. And I think that's the value of that award, is that it shows you a path towards that, when really, you can get really caught up in, sell through and, margins and, distribution wars. It can become overwhelming, but but that award really does inspire people to make something greater than just that.
In fact, I have to add that nowadays the level of the award, of the stores participating is overwhelming. I mean, in this year, since our first Eisner to the second Eisner, the level has increased exponentially.
Well, I think you were the one who exponentially increased that with the fact that you have built sets for your store, so that there are different zones.
I think I think that it's something from any of us, because any store adds something new, For instance,
True.
the mission statement is something we borrow from Blackbird because we have the idea of portraying the third space theory somewhere in the store. And when I knew about Blackbird and the mission statement, and we try every time, my brother Ivan and me, to take any ideas wherever the world we find it, and not only in the comic book stores, but whatever we go to Germany, to Japan, to UK, to the States, to Belgium, to Italy, to all over the world, and we take pictures. We have something to write the ideas. We are all the time. My brother and me will have a place in the store when we are developing all the ideas, because you can take many things. That's the most important thing. Maybe the Japanese culture has given to us in these decades, that they take many ideas from other cultures, and they evolve their own civilization, the Japanese world. And something that's something very interesting, not very usual in my country, in Spain, because I many times with other fellow retailers, I tell them these same words. I said, you can go abroad and take ideas from here and from there, and improve your store. But I find that many of them still do not apply that philosophy of working, and it's quite sad, because it's free. I mean, taking ideas from other cultures or other places is something that is free. You can do it. You only have to travel. That for myself, it's something wonderful. I like to travel. I like to go, for instance, to the States, because it's every time for me a way of keeping in touch of other culture, the American culture, very interesting. Very I enrich my mind and my way of thinking, being in other countries for a time. So I think that's marvelous in nowadays, that you can travel easily. I mean, 200 years ago, you have a horse and you do not have a ship or a plane to go easily and in a cheap way from, for instance, from Spain to the States, or from Spain to Japan or China. But now you can do it. It's at your hand. So
yeah, that's true.
That is like adding to the, you are cooking something and you adding salt or pepper or whatever, and you can add many things that enrich that meal. But that's something more or less the same.
Yeah, sure. And that's, I mean, that is the history of globalization, right? Is that we take from other cultures, we absorb in the good ideas, and hopefully we leave the bad ones. But of course, that's not always the case. But we do try.
We try.
Talk to me about. Let's talk about some of the ideas that you have adopted. Some of the things that jumped out to me as someone who's followed retail, as a former retailer, someone who continues to follow. Let's talk about Akira Academy. Let's begin there. What exactly is that?
Well, my brother Ivan is the one who thought about it, because my brother was born with 80% of hearing impairment, I think is the word. He tried to follow a regular life since a kid. I mean, he has something to hear, but you can see it because he's very small and he's like a regular guy. Right. But since the beginning, he has been very in touch of being with kids and working with non-profit organizations. And so he's the one who started the non-profit organizations we work with, and also the storytellers kids, what that became in a time in something bigger when we started to do activities just not with kids from 4 to 8 years, but with kids from 10 to 12 years, kids from 15 to 16 years, and people of 19 and 20 years. So then we started to think about it like grassroots fans, like a soccer, like a soccer team. Like here in Spain, we have Real Madrid in Madrid, for instance. That's how they take the younger players to become new players in the team.
Okay.
That's something in all Europe, all the soccer teams do for over decades. So we try to do the same, not just for transform a kid in a customer, but to transform him in someone in love of the reading, in love of reading comics or reading books, to give him some what you can call the love for the joy for the ninth art and the seventh art, from the reading books and comics, and even you can add music and whatever, all the arts, to turn him into someone in touch of that topics.
Right.
Because we not follow that with a storyteller. For instance, the kids after that has to buy the book of the comic book in the store. That's not the purpose. We do that. That's why our themes every year are not related with the books we sell. We have 1 year Star Wars. I said before. Another was Harry Potter. Another was Dragon Ball. Another was Marvel superheroes. This year is going to be Julius Verne and the inventors. The next year is going to be mathematicians. But mathematicians explain, famous mathematicians explain to a kid of 4 to 8 years. I mean, that's the challenge.
Wow.
To talk about, for instance, Euler, and how to a kid can become passionate of a mathematician like Euler, explaining him many things that in the tales he reads, for instance, are related with in the case of Euler, we thought about the Hamelin Pied Piper, of Hamelin.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
In Hamelin, they had a lot of rats. So the how we teach Euler is that Euler invented and developed the number E, and the number E is related with how a population of beings grows in the real world, but it's
Yeah.
a mathematical number. So we will tell the kids in the tale the Pied Piper of Hamelin. If the country of Hamelin knew about number E and how the population of rats grows, they would not need a Pied Piper. So they avoid the Pied Piper hijacking the kids.
Right.
And that's something that a kid of 4 to 8 years can understand. And that's not at all related with selling that book in our store, because I don't know if we even has that book
Right.
in the kids section. The point is to make them learn about Euler, about number E, in a way that a kid can understand. That's the reason why we made the Star Wars trilogy in a puppet way, because we have to make them understand the trilogy, but having 4 or 5 years.
Right. Incredible. Okay. So much to dig into there, and that's even stepping outside the mathematics lesson. Let's I want to come back to the videos, because I feel like what you've done there is incredibly special and does solve a problem that many retailers, as we talked about, work with. Two quick ideas that I noticed while going through some of your store tours. You seem to have solved the employee like identification sort of uniform problem. It looks like you at some point you had vests and you tried other things, but these aprons that you have, I mean, they just, it makes it just elevates the whole thing. It makes it feel like you're very like a craftsman, like a craftsman's a good word for it. Like there's a definite feeling of, well, I'm not sure I understand what I'm trying to get to here, but talk to me about where the apron specifically came from. And I know for many people who are not into retail, that the idea that we're going to talk about aprons as uniforms is got to be the nerdiest of nerdy things, but it's such a distinctive thing. It's such an identifier of the person in the room who knows what they're talking about, right?
Yeah, you nail it. It's like that's the philosophy in the apron, the craftsmanship of what we are doing in the store. And in fact, it's true. The best the staff member best, for me, it has been every time, all the years, a problem for many reasons that will need a lot of time to explain, but it's a problem. So when we designed the aprons, well, it was a mixture of many things, like any other part of our store, that comes from, in the beginning, how we perceive the store and selling comics, as you say, like a craftsman's, related with the restaurants, because we follow in many times we follow what was developed in the 90s by Ferran Adrià. Ferran Adrià changed he's a very famous chef, Spanish chef, Catalan chef, who changed and transformed the world cuisine in something very classical, very standard, into what is now in the high-end cuisine, with an experience. You go to a restaurant with 3 Michelin stars to feel to have an experience in that restaurant. And that's the competition of the Michelin Guide stars every year, because you learn about, I don't know, Can Roca. Can Roca is in Girona in Spain, and they won the best restaurant in the world for a lot of times, a lot of years in a row. And they have a long list of customers waiting to go, because that's an experience. That's something you have to live. But because in fact you are going to eat there. I mean, you can eat in everywhere. You can eat in a McDonald's, you can eat in your house, and you can eat in any regular restaurant. And that philosophy of change that was in something like the restaurant, we try to move it to the comic book retail part. So that move us to the craftsmanship of selling comics and giving a customer the best suitable comic for him or for her, and this kind of things. And also, when I knew about I was in Seattle in 2014, I think. In that year of my travel to the States, I went to Seattle, and I visited the Rusty. I don't know the name exactly. Is the Starbucks in Seattle that has inside. It's an experience. It has they toast the coffee and whatever. And I fell in love of their aprons, because they were made like leather, like the gold diggers in the gold fever in the 19th century. That sort of vest of aprons, they sell them even in that Starbucks.
They sell the aprons at the
Starbucks? Yeah, and they are marvelous. They're incredible. And if you mix all of this together, we came to the idea we can change the vest to that apron to be different again, to be different again, to be in touch with what we think about our business, and to give the customer or the visitor a clear message, and it's your words. We are crafting your comics in
And
some sort of way. You can
you
say.
and it is that sort of, man, it's going to bug me. I cannot seem to come up with that word. It's a calling, right? You're essentially you're essentially giving respect to the person who um is the person you're dealing with. This is a problem I've been struggling with, and I've been giving it even through this show, but I've been giving it to everybody I know who thinks about our world really seriously. Is Starbucks is a wonderful, I'm so glad that you invoked them, because one of the things that they did to elevate the coffee experience was to take the name barista and give it to the person who's making your coffee, right?
Exactly. That's right.
And that name alone elevates the entire experience. It goes from
Yeah.
somebody who's just like, pushing buttons into someone who is legitimately an artist, a craftsperson, right? Who's making this for you. And I personally have this pet theory that if we can come up with that word for the comics staffer, the person who is hand selling you the book, like that will elevate the entire industry in that one word. If I can just find the right word, I just haven't found it yet. So feel free, if you're watching this, feel free to leave it in the comments if you know it, because I still haven't found it. One of the other pieces that I saw, we don't have to spend too much time on it. It was such a simple little detail of every store has their recommended reading. This is your staff pick. This is something you want to pay attention to. And most of them are usually just shelf talkers, right? They're little signs that sit on the shelf underneath the book. But you went so far as to create those belly bands that attach to the book that give a write-up of why you should be reading this book. And it's just such a beautiful little detail that I'm floored when I'm looking at it. I think there's so much care and effort goes into that. It's obvious why you're the 2-time Eisner winner. That's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you. I have to say that's the merit is from my brother Ivan, because he's the one who travels to Europe usually. I go to the States, to America. He goes to Europe, more or less. That's the part of any one of us.
Sure.
And in 2012, when the first Eisner, we have instead of that belly band of the books, we have a small piece of paper with the book, because he saw that in Germany, I think, in Germany or in France, and we take it, the idea, again, as I said before, we take any idea wherever we find it. But in the evolution of that way of recommending the products, the books and the comics, he came one year and told me, I've been in, I think was Belgium, because the comic tradition in Belgium is huge, with Tintin and all of that, all the Belgian European school of comics. And he told me, I've been in we share a lot of pictures of the stores, as I said before, and he showed me that they have the belly band. And he told me, we can change our way of recommending in like that. And he told me, you can write the text and the small drawing, because he has the idea, but he's not as a skilled drawing as myself.
Right.
So he let me the part of doing the belly band as beautiful as I can, to be more appealing to the visitor. So that's our teamwork anytime. So we try to be
Wonderful.
like a single-minded with two parts. No, it's a bicameral mind all the time working, and someone do something, the other do the complementary thing. We can say more or less. So
Yeah.
that's the story of that belly band that we are very
Wonderful.
proud, because very quickly the customers tell us that they find very original and very nice, very useful, of course.
Sure.
So we tell all the staff members, hey, hey guys, let's try to do everybody 1, 2, or 3 or whatever our favorite recommendation books or comics or manga, whatever. And you in the text has to be very personal. I mean, it's not the synopsis of the book. It's not like this book is about
It's
this
not like a
comic
book
book.
report, right?
Yeah, you have to say, I love that story because it made me feel when I was young with my mother or whatever. That's the way of these belly bands are written.
Oh, that's even better. You personalize the experience. Oh, that's so wonderful.
I hope
I'm
you
telling
come to Spain, to Madrid one day to
I'm
show
coming.
you the store, of course.
I am coming. That is for certain. We're gonna put that on the list. And I now believe, of all the people that I've met, your brother is going to be the one who finds the word for for barista for comic shop people. Let's put him on this, because I feel like he might be
I'll tell
the one.
him later. Yeah, I'll talk to him about that interview, and I'm going to give him this homework. You have homework,
There you
Ivan.
go.
Yeah.
Um, let's move outside the shop, because I think when you see something as remarkable and as distinctive as what it feels like the life's work of the Akira comics, many people would just stop there, right? They would say, look, this is I've made a beautiful movie set, I have personalized the books, I have made sure that the staff members are, as well presented as possible, it's a family here, we make you feel safe, all of those things. That could be everything, but you've gone even beyond that, and you're creating content online. I went in, and your YouTube channel, I mean, you have a really strong subscriber base, but the thing that drew me in was you do these little pop videos, those pop figures. I don't personally own any, but I know everybody else I know does. And they are, you do these little theater, like 1 minute theater, I think is what I'm getting it right. I don't know if I got that translation right, but these little 1 minute videos of, here's everything you need to know about this IP, right? This intellectual property, this Batman, the new Batman movie's coming out. Here's 1 minute video on what Batman is. The one that I'm actually going to refer to, Suicide Squad. You did a 1 minute video with these
Went
pop
viral.
figures. 1.3 million views
Yeah.
on YouTube. 1.3 million. I don't know of a single comic book video, period, that, like a explainer video, that has that many views. Where did that inspiration come from? Like, and how long did you have to be creating that sort of content before you figured out the formula, and what effect has it had? Talk a little bit. I just want to know everything about what got you there.
Well, I knew you were going to ask me about that particular video because it went viral, and it is still in that viral state. I mean, I don't know, nor my brother, anybody in the store knows how was possible that this particular video went so viral and not
Sure.
others. I mean, I I suppose that it's as any other viral videos. Maybe something is you are in the middle of many different things in that particular moment, and that makes the video to explode. Like, I don't know, the woman in the car with the Chewbacca mask, she was laughing.
Right.
That
Sure.
video I knew about it on Facebook in that day, and it went viral even here in Spain. I mean, all over the world. And you say, why? It's just a woman laughing with a very funny but nice mask. that's the same thing. Who knows? The magic of the viral videos is that it's magic. You can't search for doing something viral. I mean,
No.
in a
Yeah.
normal legal way, obviously, in a nice way.
Sure.
It's very, very difficult. We have a lot of YouTuber friends in Spanish YouTuber friends since the beginning, and they can't understand why with their own videos and also with our video, something is viral, something not. You put a lot of your effort in many videos that they are not seen, but anyone. Many times you do a video that is made just like that, and it's a huge success. I think that's the magic of social media, with YouTube, with the human being, with the society, many different things that you cook all of them together, and it's like it's like panoramics in aesthetics, the magical potion. He
Sure.
makes many usual regular things, but made a potion that you can be very strong and defeat the Romans. But it's like that. How? Who knows?
That is my favorite analogy that we maybe have ever gotten on this show. But I think that you don't. I think you're kind of glossing over something that I want to scratch at a little more, which is, they say that good luck is being in the right place at the right time, and in order to be there, you have to be in the right place. You did create that video, and that video the algorithm took off, and you got 1.3 million views. But like, even the stuff that you're doing that is, I will say, not as mainstream, still has a really strong following and still has really strong views. So what I'm asking is, can you talk for a minute about the philosophy, the organization, the system that you use to make sure that you're creating that sort of content, how you find the bandwidth for that when you're doing all the other, incredible work that you're doing? Talk more
Well,
about how you are in the right place for that algorithm to take off.
we have my brother and me. We have another staff member who is called Manu. He helps us with that particular part of the store, that is the YouTube channel, and in that time, mainly the way of how we work was every month we had a list of ideas to do that short videos.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly they are related with the premiere of any movie, mainly comic book movies. In that particular time, it was going to be the premiere of Suicide Squad, so we decided to do a video of them.
Right.
I guess my personal opinion is that if the movie had become a great success and a positive success for Warner Brothers and DC,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that video has not went so viral. I think, I mean, is that many of that viral is because the movie was a huge flop. That's my opinion.
Could
And
be.
that is the reason what I say, that many things conflude in some
Yeah.
point. And maybe the main one is that the flop of the movie, and how is so bad that movie.
And that's a lesson in and of itself, right? You created this thing for something that many people might not have done, knowing that it was a flop. They might not have even tried, and yet you continually put yourself in that place. I mean, you have a ton of those little pop, 1 minute videos, and they're wonderful little pieces in and of themselves. But the fact that you did so many of them, I think, is part of, again, what put you in the right place at the right time. That was not the first one you did, right?
The philosophy behind all of this is that we try to do things not very usually seen in other comic book stores, and that phrase is going to be repeated anytime in this interview. And wherever somebody asks me about anything in the store, when we see something that is a copy or repeated in the industry, for us is not so appealing in that moment, because then you turn to be another one doing the same, and that's not original, that's not interesting and whatever. So in that particular time, with the short videos of the Funko Pops talking about comics or movies, we thought that nobody was doing that. All the YouTube channels, the comic book stores we know, mainly Spaniards, they talk about the review of the comic, of the movie. They still do that. I mean, even nowadays, nobody has copy that videos with the Funkos.
Jack DeMaio of Whatnot talked about how comic shop retailers really have, there's still a wide open space for comic shop retailers to do video content and share what they know. And one of the things that he said was, you don't have, doesn't have to be about selling. It doesn't have to be come buy this. It can be, you know, who you are and your experience and your knowledge. It doesn't have to just be about the transaction. And I think you've shown that wonderfully.
In fact, that is what Amazon does, because Amazon, it's a company that sells everything, but the main flag nowadays is Amazon Prime Video, and they invest in content like the Rings of Power. They are investing a huge amount of money, and they don't earn from that content directly. I mean, that's not, they are not a producer, they are a store, a very huge store. So that's just the same you said. You can do things not directly related with your job, and that's why we do the storyteller with the kids and many things you asked me before.
Sure.
Because it's a way of engaging the people in a place that, okay, is built to sell comics and books, but you can turn it into something funny, something amusing, something interesting to visit, and even you don't have to buy anything, and you have a good time. So I think that's a very, very good strategy, and we are, anytime we are trying to follow it, my brother and me. The only point is that we're a family owned company, as I said before, so our time is so limited that we have to take some times of the of the calendar to do that, because our main time is managing the store, selling the comics,
Sure.
receiving the comics, and with the customers, etc. So that's the I mean, if the day had 40 hours instead of 24, for us will be better. Have more time to do all of these things, but we have a lack of time. Incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just seeing what you have accomplished in the 3 decades of this store, I think you're doing just fine on your time management.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the one more little aspect of the store. Little. You I'm so glad that you brought up Amazon, because it does dovetail nicely into the next section of this. Once again, you've put so much thought and time and effort into the store itself and how those transactions happen, and the relationships that you're building there. And then you took that and applied some of that to your online sales. From what I can tell, it looks as though you built your own platform, you built your own app for selling online. And there's quite a bit of a couple of different interviews where you talk about the struggle of having to compete with places like Amazon for online sales, and how you can distinguish yourself as that. I'd love for you just to spend a little bit of time talking about what it took to build that? I mean, you obviously come from a very technically savvy family, so it's not surprising that you were able to do the technical part of it. But where did that philosophy come from, and how does that experience of being an Akira translate into an app on my phone, right?
Okay, thank you for that question, because I think it's so interesting. So thank you very much. It's a question very. I heard a lot here in Spain from the Spanish journalist, because in Spain, at least from the books and comic book retailers, Amazon is perceived like a big threat. And my fellow members, they would prefer here in Spain that Amazon could not sell books or comic books at all, which is something quite illegal. I mean, we are in a free market, that is the capitalism. Sure. This is not North Korea. I have to tell them that. I have to tell them, okay, and remember that you are not in North Korea. You can't forbid someone to sell something. That is the sure. That's the competition in an open market, in a free market, like Spain or the States. What you have to do is to fight that fight in an intelligent way, thinking that you are. How can I say that? If you know about the story of boxing, when Muhammad Ali had to fight George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, okay?
Rope-a-dope.
That's right. That's what I want to say. He was very smart, because he knew that in exchange of fists, of punches, he was going to lose, because George Foreman was the best in that moment, and he was a beast. You have to be very smart, and you have to wait your chance. You have to weaken your opponent. You have to do the rope-a-dope, and in a time, you can defeat it. That's the same in our industry. The comic book retailers here in Spain and in Russia, or whatever you think, you can't compete with Amazon, because they are Amazon. You have to find your own way. And something wrong, at least here in Spain, with my fellow retailers, is that they think that Amazon are stealing their customers. And that's true, because usually the one who buys a comic book through Amazon is not someone very in love of how the comic book stores sell that comic. Or if I can say another word to express that, I could say that was a non-existent customer until the arrival of Amazon. He was not a customer of a comic book store. He was not someone who leave a comic book store to say, oh, okay, and now I'm gonna change. I'm going to be I'm going to buy it from Amazon. No, he wasn't a comic book reader at all. He knew about the comics through Amazon. And in fact, for us, Amazon is a good ally, because we said, okay, if we sell the comics in a good experience way, with our boxes, with our platform, with all the things we put in our how we sell it, if someone new to the comic book industry or genre, he discovers a comic in Amazon and he falls in love with that, he's going to look for another places to buy another comics on Google. And in Spain, we are going to be the first one he's going to find. And he's going to come to our store physically or go to our web. And then we have now we have a new customer that we never had because of Amazon, because he was not a customer of us at all. And I mean, that is something that my fellow retailer members in Spain do not understand, that they are not stealing your customers, because someone who loves the way a comic book store here on in the States do his job, is not going never to buy it through Amazon, because the experience buying it through Amazon is way, way different. You have to use Amazon to rechannel that customers, to rechannel them to your store. And that's a good thing, and that's why that's the reason of what I said about the being intelligent, and the analogy with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. You have to be the little insect compared with the elephant. You have to be very clever, because the elephant is going to stomp you, and that's the story of Amazon versus what was the Barnes and Nobles. Fought in the first decade of this century. They went to war with Amazon in their own arena, and they lose that battle, because you can't win that battle. You have to be like a sniper, soldier in a urban warfare. You are a sniper, you are hiding, and you have to wait your chance. You can go with your arm, because you are with an army, a whole army in front of you. They're going to kill you, and that's something that I repeat anytime, because I think that that's the understanding of how Amazon deals with our comic book stores in the Western world, not only in Spain, all Europe and the States. Another thing different is that they do something illegal. For instance, in Europe, they can do more than 55% of discount in comics or books, because there is a law in Spain and also in France that forbids that. Not in the States, not in UK, but in France and in Spain, yeah. So you can't go against them if they are trying to do something illegal concerning the discount. But if they are selling legally their stuff, their books, and you can't forbid them to do it. You just have to try to take the chance of getting some customers from how they recruit those customers with such a big platform.
Yeah. If I can just and your thing. One of the challenges I think that I've had in dealing with retailers over the years is hearing them say, these people are stealing my customers. These people, I love that philosophy that they were not your customers. Like that idea of ownership of these customers is, it's misguided, right? It's this idea that I in any way own the experience or the behaviors of another person. It's my job to earn it. It's my job as the interviewer, as the person who's creating these episodes, to earn the attention of the people who are watching, right? It is your job as the retailer to earn that attention and them coming back. It's not Amazon's fault that you lost them.
Even in Spain, the guild of the retailers guild, they went to the government. I mean, any government in that moment. It's not because of that how political is that government, leftist or right. No, they want that the government in charge change the law to that the customer has to buy to the independent retailers. And that's what I say. That's the dictatorship. You can do that. You are in a free country, and being a free country means that anybody has the free will of do whatever he wants or she wants inside the legal framework we are, of course. But you have the free will here in United States, in UK. You can say with the laws, you have to buy you have to buy here because I say so. No, because that is North Korea, or at least I've not been in North Korea, but that's what they say, that is North Korea. So what do you want, to transform your country in North Korea? Come on.
I don't disagree. You at some point, if you looking at the videos, looking at the tours, the tour that you did for the 2012 Eisner video is very different than the tour from the 2025 video. Talk about the decision to make uh, a a comic book store that looks like a theme park. Like you invested a lot of money and energy in that, and I'd be curious to know how well that paid off, aside from another Eisner, and where did that come from? Because that is not a decision that most stores ever make.
Well, in the beginning was because we wanted to turn the store in an immersive experience because of the restaurant and the restaurant transformation I told you before. So we slowly tried to change that into we started with the back end with the entrance to Bilbo's house.
Mm-hmm.
In a very humble way. We didn't know if that was going to be liked by the customers. When we saw that was well perceived and they like it, we thought, well, we can expand that philosophy in other parts of the store. We are even doing that nowadays. We have to change even more the manga parts to transform it into a very very Tokyo-esque
Mm-hmm.
part of the store. So we did it in a very organic and slowly way because the original store that won the first Eisner no longer exists. We tear it everything apart, down. We change it
Right.
everything. In my this year submission to the judges, I start talking about that, about the elephant in the room. For me, that was a store that already won an Eisner. What are the reasons to win another one if they are basically the same? I mean, I understand that if the judges has a very good store that never won the Eisner and another store good but who already won the Eisner, maybe I said maybe because I have no proper answer, but I guess that they can say, well, it's a fair point giving it to someone that is extremely good and never
Yeah.
won that award. So I started my this year submission talking about that the store that won the first Eisner no longer exists. It's like the Theseus ship. Is the shape, the skin, the body of that person changed so much. It's like ourselves. Our body changes every 7 years.
Sure.
So philosophically speaking, we are a new body every 7 years, but the mind, the spirit, the how we perceive our conscience is the same, and that's something very very mad, very insane to the philosophers all over the
Sure.
story.
Yeah.
So I started with the same. I started saying, okay, that store won an Eisner, but that store no longer exists. And
Right.
starting from that foundation, we are going to show you everything. But that was the foundation of our this year submission, because I wanted to make it clear, because as I told you before, the level of the stores participating in the award is great, is huge, is incredible. And for me, this year was a very difficult task to win it again, because we that was the third year that they allow to 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 could win again an Eisner.
Sure.
And in these 3 years, other stores have been trying it just one time, and the only one mad enough to repeat that try were us. We were in our third attempt, but we were convinced that with that change of philosophy of what you asked me about something immersive, something that you can get the third space philosophy and elevate to another to turn it to another into another level to transport the visitor to a third space just inside that experience related with I don't know, for instance, a cathedral or
Sure.
whatever part we have of the store. Um, well, but going back again to your question, that was a very slow step by step process. Like everything we do, we try to think in 5 or 10 years in the future. So we are taking steps, my brother and me, and doing things quite slowly here and there, not with thinking about some award in the future, but trying to constantly change and evolve the store because I love the philosophy of Steve Jobs. Since I was a kid, I read his biographies, and one phrase he always said. Maybe he's not the one who invented it, but I like him saying it because he used it in the development of the technology with all the Apple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when you try to uh, do something new, you have to guess where is going to be the society in that moment, not what is doing right now, because the society is evolving and is moving. And he said it's like a skate, like a skate player. He pushes the puck, I think is called the ball in the skate in the you hit it with the stick.
In hockey?
Yeah, in hockey. You hit it, but you are moving and your team players are moving. So you can't point to where
Right.
they are because they are in a motion and you're
You have
going
to.
to, it's going to land in a blank space. You have to guess where they are moving. Or in
Yes.
soccer, when you have a very long pass, or in football, when you do I don't know, a Hail Mary, you launch
Yeah.
a Hail Mary, you have to, the quarterback must guess where is going to be the receiver
Right.
because he's moving also. So that philosophy that you have to always think in the future and how more or less the society can develop to something you are thinking. I love so much that part of Steve Jobs' philosophy, and we try to well, in a very humble and small way to apply in the store anytime.
I am absolutely certain. While this may not be the first time someone has invoked Steve Jobs on our podcast, it is absolutely the first time that someone has invoked the ship of Theseus. So that's congratulations on that. You've definitely broken some
Thank you.
ground. What I think if when I am thinking about this entire conversation, uh, one of the things that strikes me is the incremental change, right? You've been at this now for 30 years, and one of the thing, and while we look at the masterpiece that is Akira Comics, it didn't come about from a giant remodel, and it didn't come about from a big rethink of this. It became through incremental change. It came through little bits and pieces. You didn't get to a viral video on your first time out. You just kept putting videos out. You kept putting videos out. You didn't get to having a theme park for a comic shop. You started with, hey, we can make this spot a little bit better. I think this is such a beautiful lesson that I know that I will take into my work, and I do hope that our audience takes into theirs. So thank you for that. This has been wonderful. Where can people find you? Where can they purchase from Akira? How should they go looking for the content in the store and the online store and the classes and all of the other bits and pieces that you guys put together?
Well, digitally, I mean in the internet and in the computers, we have our own website. In that website, we have obviously the e-commerce, the store, but also all the information. We have one part with our story, one part talking about the Akira Academy, talking about the free comic book day here in our store, talking about everything we do. Also, our social media, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok, we don't use it so much, but we also have TikTok, and of course YouTube. And in the real world, in the physical world, if you come to Madrid, Spain, we are in the north of the city. Madrid is a very huge city, and one of the northern neighborhoods of the cities is called Barrio del Pilar, and there we are. They have our store, and we also have a map and Google Maps and all of that. So I think it's quite easy to find the store.
Thank you, Jesus. This has been wonderful. I was
Thank you so
looking
much.
forward to this, and you absolutely delivered. This has been Comic Industry Insiders. If you like this sort of conversation, we have a very simple ask. Make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you like, but also comment. It does help. And we talked about algorithms. It does help us find other people. So make sure that you're sharing it with other folks and letting us know what you think. We definitely appreciate you giving us your time and attention. And we're happy to have people like Jesus to help us earn that. So thank you once again, my friend. And we'll see you maybe not next year at the Eisners. I don't know if you're going to get a three-peat this quickly, so we'll see.
Next year I will be the judge, one of the judges of the.
That's right. You have to judge the very next year. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you in San Diego.